watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
I'm here. Richard Lane.
Here.
Mark Scalera.
Here.
Brandon Self.
Here.
Michael York.
Here.
Selectmen's Rep Sly Karazinski.
Here.
Victoria Ames.
Here.
Michael Scungio, alternate. Brian Vertigal, alternate. And Steve Malone.
Here.
Alternate. Right there. Okay, we have a full board, so we won't be seating any alternates tonight. The agenda this evening, under applications and public hearings, is planning board number 24-002. That's a site plan review application. Fieldstone Land Consultants on behalf of TC Legacy LLC requests a site plan review for the first phase of an expansion of their mixed use commercial industrial development and associated site improvements at 67 California Street. Subject property is currently shown at tax map 108 lot 6 in the commercial industrial and rural agricultural districts. Item B, planning board number 24-003, site plan review application. Horizons Engineering on behalf of Nucar Nissan of Keene requests a site plan review for construction of a new flex space building and associated site improvements for their dealership at 544 Monadnock Highway. Subject property is currently shown at tax map 222 lot 34 in the business district. Item C, planning board number 24-004, site plan review application. Fieldstone Land Consultants on behalf of Asher Construction LLC requests a site plan review for the construction of a contractor bay facility at 0 Safford Drive. The subject property is shown at tax map 209 lot 4 and located in the industrial park district. Under discussions and other business, we'll be discussing ex parte communication and anything else that comes up, and then adjournment. So first item, regional impact. Anything on tonight's meeting requiring us to?
I move that there is none.
Surrounding towns, okay. Motion by Michael York that we do not have regional impact tonight, so we don't have to notify surrounding towns. Seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now we have minutes, February 22nd, 2024. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Brandon to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Michael York. Is there any further discussion on changes or alterations or any of that? Not hearing any. And all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That's done. So that's our first application coming up, and that is the site plan review for TC Legacy. And that is mixed use and expansion of their commercial industrial development. So we have the application in front of us, and we will see whether the application is complete. They did not have the certification of septic designer, but we just got that in the last minute. I think everyone has a copy of that. This is from Jennifer. Talking about the septic system on there. Includes that the septic system is fine, but actually it looks like there are 2 septic systems on there already, and they're going to put a third on by phase 2, but they'll get to that. Would you go over the checklist for us? Just to
Yes.
show us what's on the drawing.
For the record, John Noonan with Fieldstone Land Consultants, here on behalf of TC Legacy LLC. Also with me tonight are the principals of the LLC, which are Dan and Jennifer Shadowell. Walking through the application, the first being name and address of owner. So it's listed here on the pages, and then also in the title block below sheet. Tax map and lot number also on the title sheet, and every sheet on the title block as well, tax map. North arrow written in graphic scale of 1 inch equals 30. So we do have some plan sheets that are 1 inch equals 50, and then the existing conditions, which was at a larger scale, and then the other plans are 1 inch equals 40. Our scale 1 inch equals 40, and written and graphically shown. Name and address of the plat and preparer. So we have Fieldstone Land Consultants. Vicinity sketch. So we have a locus front cover and a sheet up at the very right-hand corner. Name and address of all butters and landowners. So on our existing conditions, we have the butters shown. So each one is shown with their tax map, lot number, owners of record, and this is what's shown on our butters list. Physical features and uses of land within 200 feet of the site. So again, existing conditions showing existing woods. Wetlands are highlighted here in blue. So the tree line is the green. Orange here is showing the outline of the property along street. And then uses being the buildings that are on the site. And then perimeter boundary lines of the lot area in square feet and acres. So the boundary is shown here. It's roughly 20 acres as shown here. And a list over here where it shows both acreage and square feet on the notes. The shape, size, height, location, and use of existing structures on the site and those that are proposed. So you're showing on the existing conditions, building finished floor, where the buildings are. So these existing buildings shown, metal shed, the other buildings all across the site here. And then proposed is on the site plan showing the two buildings in a phase 1 and a phase 2. Location, name, and widths of any existing and proposed roads on the property. So there are no roads on the property. However, California Brook Road is part of the frontage. Also, California Street is part of the frontage. Shown again. Identification of access from the site to public streets, site distances from the access points, curb cuts, and proposed changes to existing streets. So there's no proposed changes to any streets. The existing curb cut is to remain unchanged. When that was developed, the site distance within 200 feet of each direction was not changed in 3 months. Location and number of parking spaces and loading spaces. So in both the proposed and the existing conditions, we show number of spaces shown with these circles with a number inside that dictates how many spaces are there. These are, this portion here that's proposed is gravel parking. So they're not actually striped, but this is dictating where the spaces would be. Regulation. Landscape plan. These are the separate landscaping plans. Landscaping plan. Location, type, and nature of all existing and proposed lighting. So we have submitted a lighting plan which shows proposed and existing lights on the site. There's a photometric plan showing the extent of proposed lighting, all facing away from the abutting neighbors, and then these symbols here for the existing lights on the existing buildings are shown. Natural features such as water bodies, ledge outcrop, and wetlands. So that was back on the proposed site plan and existing conditions showing outlined in blue where we have wetlands to the north and the west corners here. So this blue one here is the extent of the wetlands and the wetlands. Existing and proposed grades and topographic contours at 5-foot intervals. We have a grading plan. The existing condition shows the existing contours and topography on the site, and then proposed grading and drainage plan showing all proposed topography here on the site. So these are the proposed contours, and then the lighter dashed lines are the existing contours. Existing the size and accurate location of existing and proposed water mains, culverts, fire hydrants, and or fire ponds. So we have on both the existing and proposed is where a proposed well is, there's a utility plan showing this, and then the existing well, septic. It's broken out between the existing conditions and our utility plan. So existing well, proposed well, and it is private septic, so there's an existing septic system. So that's the letter that we got from Tom Forrest regarding the attachment of the proposed garage, and then there's going to be a septic system that's proposed for the other building, and that was permitted by Tom Forrest as well. The means of providing water supply, so that's shown the proposed well providing water to the proposed building. Surface drainage patterns. So on our grading and drainage plan, there's the contour shown, and then there's also arrows dictating which direction of flow the water is on the site. So it's here. Copy and certification by a licensed septic designer that the existing system is sufficient for existing and proposed use. So initially we had on there NA, and we were going to say that we were going to have Forest Designs provide that letter. They have since provided that letter, is my understanding. So that's now included in the list. Location and type of proposed sewage disposal system. So as mentioned before, for utilities, we have the existing septic system over here and the proposed septic system over here. So existing and proposed on-site well showing a 75-foot radius. So that is shown as we went over water supply. So existing, proposed. Soil survey data from the Jutro Soil Survey map. So there's the letters that are dictated on the plan showing what soils are on site. That's on the existing conditions. Grading plan. That's these lines that are showing here across the property with these symbols. They're smaller on the grading plan. Soils legend, what soils are there. Okay, number 24, location of any existing or proposed easements, deed restrictions, and or covenants. So there are no deed restrictions. All setback lines are shown, property lines are shown. There's no deed restriction. Architectural plans. So what was submitted, and I believe the board got in a packet, but I have extra copies here, was for the proposed garage, which is a prefabricated metal building, and then the phase 2 buildings. We have a layout of that as well. But I have extra copies of them.
Okay, thank you.
A completeness question. Are you showing the entire piece of property? Or is there a part that actually extends, that's not shown on the map? Is this
Yeah,
the entire
on
parcel?
this, right, on this one, for the existing conditions, the partial existing conditions on just this end of the property,
Right.
it's so large. And then the entirety from the tax map is on the cover sheet showing the entire.
Okay, so we don't have any information about grade or how, what degree of forest cover or whatnot on that northern part?
Yeah, it's correct. So we have what's proposed tree lines on our plan on anything that would be impacted. The remainder of the site up here is not shown. It's off of what was surveyed.
Okay.
It's going to remain as it is, and
Right.
it looks like the building part of it, the construction part is going on down in this end of the lot,
Yes.
by the looks of it.
Yep.
And it's, that part is setbacks, all requirements, setbacks are done in that, and right.
Right, and this is forest. None of this is changing past these forest lines over here.
And there's no use up there other than maybe forestry, you know,
Right.
logging or something, but there's no other use up in there. Yeah.
So it's okay to have.
We have
not have the
information,
entire
we need,
parcel.
because we were focusing on this part of the property anyway, that, and regardless, it really doesn't make much of a difference there.
Just checking.
Looks like it might be wetlands up there anyway.
Correct, that's pretty substantial.
It's in and out of wetlands over there, and it looks like, I think the floodplain is a part of that there.
Yes, floodplain is.
other questions about the completeness of the application? If not, a motion to accept the application as complete and proceed to public hearings in order.
So
Motion by Richard Lane to that the application is complete and to proceed to public hearing, second by Brandon. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we'll go right to the public hearing. I will open the public hearing and make your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the existing site at 67 California Street. Roughly 20 acres. As mentioned, nothing is changing further on the site here. As outlined, the orange line here is the right of way and property line. Setback lines are shown. There are existing buildings on site, and this is a multi-tenant commercial industrial site now. So they have various tenants from you know, auto repair. They have a cabinet maker, other businesses in here. So those are to remain. There was an addition done. Preliminary hearing was done by the applicant about a year ago as they came forward to discuss the overall plan of this. So moving to our proposed plan, this is an overall site plan showing both phases of what they're looking for approval on the site plan review. There's a proposed garage 50 feet by 50 feet. As mentioned, that was a prefabricated metal building. So this is the extent. It looks like pavement here, but this is actually a gravel parking lot. Parking spaces are shown for larger vehicles here that are 30 feet in length, 10 foot in width, 9 by 18 for the other parking spaces. So our calculations for spaces are based on this here. And then phase 2 is going to include the contractor bays that are shown over here. There's 5 units shown. That would be phase 2. However, we want to review the entire application, both phase 1 and phase 2. They're looking for making priority on phase 1, constructing that, being vested in the project, and showing substantial completion on this portion. All of the drainage, which would be constructed here, and then followed up by phase 2 in 1 to 3 years. So that was written in as a that just phase 1 tonight would be heard as part of the agenda. However, the application was submitted for both phases, and that's how the applicant wants to move forward, is reviewing both phases, which are the 2 buildings.
Tonight, you're right.
Tonight.
You just said you were reviewing only 1 phase tonight or 2 phases. Clear that up.
Looking for approval for both phases.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This overall plan shows both phases. In the plan set shows what phase 1 would be breaking out, which would be the proposed garage, the utilities to that garage. What's highlighted here and hatched in this gray color, which would be gravel parking. So all these parking spaces. A grass conveyance swale. So this is the drainage that's presented to pick up any runoff from the proposed parking, runs this way, would hit into the swale, and then go into an infiltration basin. So the sizing of that basin is based on full build out for phase 1 and phase 2.
And it's part of phase 1 basin.
So all stormwater, erosion controls, everything would be done as phase 1 stabilized site. So walking through our plans here, we have grading and drainage. So this is full total phase build out. Phase 1 is this square here in phase 2. So there would be a high point for phase 2, pitching to the north and south, going into that conveyance swale, sheet flow down, infiltration basin here. So the water goes down, it'll pool up in big storms and it soaks into the ground. Nice sands and gravels here, as you guys are aware, in Swanzey has very nice soil in this area. And then everything as shown with these arrows here, it flows from the proposed building on this side, and all the parking lot is graded to drain back to this corner where it'll infiltrate from that basin.
Is that just surface drainage in the back?
Yes. Yes, sheet, yep, so sheet flows through here.
Yeah.
There's no proposed structures. The swale is a grass swale that comes down, so it provides treatment. So this is our erosion and sediment control plan, showing where we have check dams through the swale here. The basin is right here. A riprap emergency spillway. this hatched rectangle here would be the construction entrance, so that's basically larger rock, 4-inch minus stone, and smaller, so as the trucks tracking dirt during construction, it's knocked off the wheels prior to going onto the paved surface, which this paved surface is still on the applicant's property. As far as
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the logging operation in the rear, but it's not a problem currently to get in and out of there with the drainage as it is. I mean, you just got big trucks going back. and
Right,
forth.
so this is over by the wood line here, this darker line here. So we kept all the drainage off to the side, that allows still trucks can come through here and go to the back of the lot.
Okay,
And it would not impact anything. Currently, this area drains all to that wetland
Yeah.
sheet flow and then also to the wetland. Utility plan, so I was going through the checklist, we kind of went over the very basic. So there's gonna be a septic connection for the proposed garage over here. Water will be fed from the existing well that feeds the existing building. So line running over here. That building will have an overhead wire to feed power to the building and a small propane tank to feed gas for heating. Similar on this side for the proposed contractor base, we have a proposed well feeding just that building, a small propane tank also feeding for heat, and then the septic system out in the rear of the building here, which was already permitted by Forest Designs. And was included, I believe, for the plans.
A design, we haven't seen a design for that.
For this one?
Yeah, for that.
Okay.
Not
Yeah,
that
so
I-
Forest has designed, Tom Forest has designed that plan for the proposed septic, and then he provided a letter, I believe, for this existing septic.
Letter
system.
came from Jeff Hurt, actually. Letter came from Jeff Hurt,
Oh, okay, yep,
but I don't know if he's.
yep, so Tom Forest is this design. Okay. So Tom Hurt provided the.
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah, because he put that.
Tom Forest,
So he was.
Jeff.
Okay, so it's the connection here that letter's for.
Mhm.
The other plan that's been designed from Tom Forest is for this proposed septic over here. Which is separate. Lighting plan, so pretty basic on lighting. We have wall packs, these are full cutoff LEDs, so there's nothing shining above horizontal. Also facing just towards the parking lot, nothing towards the residential abutting, even though there's a lot of screening on that side, and one wall back on the proposed garage. Picture of the light down here, and it shows the extent of the lighting, and if you look at these small numbers, that shows the metrics. Landscaping plan, based on the number of spaces and then really perimeter parking along the 144 feet in front of the building, comes up with a count for 5 trees. So we're showing 5 trees here, and then the trees that are required at a minimum of 25 feet between a residential zone and the commercial zone. We have, this is the 50-foot setback line here, and these green highlighted trees here is all, so it's roughly 60 feet on the north end, and on the south end, maybe 40, 45 feet.
Which remain.
All
That's what
remain.
it-
Yep, so everything that's in green here is what remains and is proposed. There's 5 proposed trees, and these all remain as is. Sediment and erosion control details, and construction. I'd like to open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
The chain link fence that currently separates the piquettes from, it's shown in phase 1, is it will continue in phase 1?
It continues, yeah, it's shown, so in this overall site plan, it's right here. And it called out.
But then it looks like you remove it in. Right.
So this is phase 2 showing that. existing. This is phase 1 that also shows.
Okay.
So it remains.
Well, I appreciate your showing us phase 1 and 2, telling us that there's going to be more construction than just phase 1. Did I understand you correctly that phase 2 is 2 or 3 years away?
1 to 3 is what they're looking at. So their priority now is to start and do the garage, the utilities for that garage, the gravel parking, the stormwater management system. This building and this parking, just right in front of those buildings would be the phase 2 coming. in.
Considering the time lag between phase 1 and phase 2, isn't it a little premature to approve phase 2?
That's not a question for him, that's a question for us.
Well,
So we can discuss that.
it's thrown out there.
But why would it be? Because when Market Basket came in here, they got approved for that other separate building and they never ever built it. And that was how long ago?
Before I got here.
Exactly.
Mike,
I think, I also heard Mr. Noonan say that, I think the phase 1 and phase 2 is really throwing people off more than it's intended. I think what I heard him say was he wanted that phase 1 building and the swale and the rest of that to qualify as substantial progress, thereby eliminating any clock that phase 2 structure would have, which sounds,
yeah, that is what he said earlier in the presentation, and that makes sense, it coincides with that as well. And we have approved, in fact, I think it's better for the planning board to get these plans like this with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, if it's gonna be, rather than coming in piecemeal on and on, because we can look at the whole project to see what's gonna go on, even though it's not gonna go in there for a couple of years, we know what's gonna go on, what's gonna be there. And any changes from it, they have to come back anyway. So I think it's better that we do see them at the same time.
Another sort of technical question though is, we don't have in our ordinance, the use of contractor bays. It's not a listed use. And
Right.
so what do we do with that?
What we do, we can discuss an hour later, but what we would do with it is that the building can be built, but the uses going in there have to come before the planning board, every use that goes in. That's how it would be.
So what he titles it doesn't matter.
The building is there.
It's just a building
And
that has
whatever the use is
divisions.
gonna be is in our zoning ordinance, and it can go in that one bay. If another bay comes in, it's not there, then we decide that, so.
That's right, because each tenant can change based on their
Exactly.
availability.
That's how it would be handled. It is, yes, it is, and that's how we're handling it.
Should we need to see the plan for the septic for phase 2?
So, probably not, we know the location of it, that's shown on the plat location, the exact plans would be gone over by, I'm sure Mike would be looking over on those plans before it was ever put in, but since they're located on the plat, they can't put it in a different spot without coming back here, it has to go in that spot that's shown, or pretty much close to that spot that's on the plat. So that's really the only restriction that the planning board would have on it.
Right.
They change the location.
Mike would get a copy of those septic plans
The plan,
from the
yeah.
designer before it goes to the state and is approved by the state.
Right, before the state approves it, yeah, before it's put in, obviously. Any other questions?
I guess I have a question for code. So was there any concern from fire about water supply for fire protection?
no.
Okay, a couple items I have, down in the lower, the existing building, let's see. It would be that one right there, now that is, there's a septic system that goes with that building, isn't that correct?
I'm sorry, but I can't tell what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, down in the
Just
lower
one-
corner, I don't know what you call it for that building there, but I think there's a system on the left-hand side of that building there.
There is.
Yeah,
Right
there's
there.
a
So
septic systems here, leach field is all the way through here.
that's what I thought, looking over the plans, it looked like it was there, it wasn't
And
really
there's-
labeled on there,
Yeah.
so it'd be.
And there's one sink and one.
Yep, okay, well, it's got its own tank, its own leach field there, but it needs to be labeled on the drawing.
Yeah, so on our existing conditions plan, we have the leach field shown right here.
It doesn't label it though, does it? It just shows.
It has LF plus or minus, which is the leach field.
Okay, all right,
It's this dash line says LF,
okay, well, we'll take that as being leach
and then the
field.
tank and the overhead, so the tanks are right here.
Yep,
I know it's hard to see.
I know, I saw it on one of your drawings there when I looked them over before, but
Yeah, so there's two tanks here and here.
Yep.
And this is the leach field. that's shown. So there's no changes down.
No,
this end.
but if you
That would be-
resubmit these, any changes on the drawings at all, if you do them, if you would just label it like you've labeled the other one up there, it shows the other one, tank and leach field, just so there's no question about it, just for future, people wondering where the heck that is. And you have on note 25, I forget, I think it's sheet 3, note 25, it talks about storage in the parking area. What is that? Not for, because, you know, parking is for parking and storage is for storage. What exactly are we talking about?
So
Where are we talking here? And I
And
can
it's
explain it.
sheet 3, note 25.
Yep. Loading and parking areas may serve as outdoor storage areas. So right in this area here, there's these longer spaces.
Yeah.
And then we have shown the self-storage containers here.
Oh, that's what you mean? You mean the self-storage? Or you mean?
So those are like a container type. They're not
But they're existing.
a
aren't they?
building.
No, yes.
Yes, there's
They're
existing
already-
here, yes.
So is that
There's
what that
existing-
note refers to, the existing on-site storage? It sounded like what you were talking about was
So
that.
if I can help clarify.
Yeah.
There is a constant flow of projects that go on. And so, for example, one of the cars is being worked on, but he has a couple of other projects, so they may be parked there. And it just, the project's churn.
Just making sure that the storage doesn't take up the parking. Okay.
Oh, yes,
Oh, no.
right.
So that's not really what's happening there. This parking will be parking and storage will be storage.
Correct.
And let's see. And line 6 on the application about the proposed permitted use for the zoning. You got repair garage, body shop, bulk storage and distribution of large quantities of material, liquid, solid, or gaseous intent for resale. What is that? What exactly is that? We don't know.
I assumed that when that application was made, that was based on a set verbiage for a code. I actually don't.
Oh, you just added, because that talks about the use, the proposed permitted use for zoning, and, you know, there's like bulk storage and distribution of large things like gaseous, like the big propane tanks out here on Route 10.
No.
That's what that
We don't
means.
know.
That's what that talks
Right,
about.
the material or solid would just be if they were selling firewood or logs out of there, it would be the only thing they have is a solid material. or
Okay,
materials.
because, you know, that's
Which is under
for
zoning.
large, you know, we're talking about some of those.
But there is
large
no,
loads.
liquid or gases.
So that does not pertain to the site plan.
It does not.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
it's just listed. So
Yeah, we could strike it out of there, but, all right, we will,
It's a good question, and I actually thought about it too, but then I forgot to clarify, but I just thought it was like a standard verbiage for what got put in there.
you just want to see how sharp we were up here, right?
Good job.
Let's see what else here. Were you requesting a waiver request letter? You're waiving something?
no, it's based on whether we got the letter or not on the existing.
Oh,
septic
the
connection.
septic, okay, that's what it would have been on, okay,
Yes.
thank you. Any other questions from the board? So, just to sum it up, the phase 1 is gonna be that gravel parking area, the drainage swale, and the garage.
Correct, everything depicted on SP1, sheet 4 of 11, and it calls out phase 1, so this is everything that would be built in phase 1.
And phase 2 basically will consist of just that one building for the contractor's building.
Correct, and then parking right from it, so.
Yep.
Phase 1 would build the driveway, they would end up with these spaces in front of them.
Yeah, and septic and a well as well going on.
Yes,
Those
exactly,
guys.
utilities going to the proposal.
All right, it's pretty straightforward, go ahead.
This is not that, it's just a thing about circulation, because I know there's a lot of like heavy equipment and whatnot parked there that's, I'm sure it moves around a lot, but I'm just thinking about fire access, okay, so, the big, like, there's like a Quonset hut kind of thing where there's, I don't know what it is. It's
That's
a
off
front
to
or
the
something.
side here, yes.
No, it's back, it's in the vicinity of the proposed new garage, it's back on the other end.
This one,
Yeah, it's next to that metal, I think it's called a metal shed.
You know, the payload or parking.
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking about the truck, like the hoop shed?
No, I thought it was over on the other side.
No,
the
there's
left.
a hoop shed over here,
No.
and then a metal
what-
shed here, three-sided metal shed here.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. Just the thought that if there's, I'm sure there's a need to put heavy equipment on this site, and if it could be arranged so that that's not in the circulation around the buildings, because.
Right, it's not in the circulation, so there's back up to that one,
Yeah.
the hoop tarp shed is over here off the side of the gravel parking. Drive aisles are 25 feet
That's not
wide.
where I saw it. I was just there today, it's up, I couldn't get to the back, I couldn't get like around the buildings because it was a. I don't know.
There's the metal, yeah, right, so the metal shed,
It's right, yeah, it's right.
that
there.
one's the one to remain, that's the other one.
Okay,
And the fire department generally signs off
okay, all
on
right,
these anyway.
but that's not, this is as built, it's
These
not,
are pretty
Right, that's
substantial,
there already.
25-foot drive aisles, 33.3, and it's very wide, you get easily get a fire truck around this one.
okay, so long as it's not a. Payload.
Yeah, payload will get around easier into the fire
I
truck.
mean, in the middle of something hard.
Okay, any members of the public here for this one? Any questions from the public anywhere? If there are no other questions from the board, then I will close the public hearing and we can deliberate. Any other questions for the applicant? I guess not. Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. No, it's a pretty straightforward design. They've been in here a number of times before us and they've always done exactly what they said they're gonna do. They said they're gonna present us with these good drawings and they have, and I don't have any problems with other than the few things they straightened out that I had questions on before. But unless any of you have any.
They have a great sign now, lists up everybody who's in there, so that's,
Yeah.
you know, that, I'm sure it's helpful.
And if nothing else, a motion to them.
Just going back to what was raised earlier on phase 2, the timeframe. I know it was mentioned that you approved a number of years ago, market basket for a building that hasn't been put up. Okay, but we have something here that they're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, but we don't have a time frame on it. This is right in conflict with what we're trying to establish.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We're trying to establish the 1 year time frame where the approval is null and void if they haven't done substantial improvement on the properties over that 1 year, right? So that's what you're talking about. But this one here, if they don't do their phase 1, that would be their substantial improvement. Then that would make it null and void unless they got an extension from us. But as far as the rest of the building goes, I can't see of any reason why the board would not want them to put that building up in a phase 2, even if it was 2 years from now. I mean, what difference is it gonna make? You know, the board has looked at it, they told what they're gonna do, they showed where it's gonna be, it's gotta be there, it can't be moved. If it changes in some way or size or anything like that, they have to be back in front of the board. But other than that, this is like, we're deliberating here, I don't know, you know, we're deliberating on that. So if the building goes up in 2 years or even 3 years, I don't see the difference. Anybody else?
Why not approve both things as a one-time?
Well, pretty much we have, but they're letting us know that it's probably going to take them a few years to do it. Other companies sometimes don't do that, and it takes them a few years to do it anyways. But they're telling us up front that they're going to take maybe a couple of years, maybe 3 years to do it. So it's no surprise to us.
The difference is, I think, they're talking about phases in terms of how they're looking at their process, but not our legal phases in terms of how we look at
That's kind of what I'm
site
getting at. Let's look at the project as one entity.
Mhm.
And they're gonna be putting up 2 buildings.
Yeah.
And do away with the phased part of it, as you did with Market Basket. It wasn't a situation there where you approved Market Basket, but phase 1 and phase 2, we're gonna have this other building over here at some future date. Why not look at it as one entity, consider it as one entity, And they have up to 5 years, I believe is the limit on it to complete.
That's for the zoning change. That's not completion of the project. That's just for any changes in the zoning to the town is a different thing, I think, that we're talking about there. But yeah, we could look at it both ways. Could just be one approval for the site plan. They chose to do it in phases because they knew they were going to do it in phases, which it really is not a problem. Again, you know, we like some of the things we've approved. I don't know, those condos going in over in North Swanzey over there. We approved those maybe a year ago, and it's going to take them 1 year, maybe 2 years to finish the whole thing. Who knows? We don't put a time limit on how long it takes them to finish a project. We do put the time limit on when they have to start, and that's within that 1 year. Otherwise, they have to come back in front of the board.
That's what the conditions, so.
That's above and beyond that.
I feel they just use phase one and phase two as their labels. We're asking us to approve.
Yeah,
the whole project.
you said right off in the beginning that you wanted to get the whole thing approved
Yeah,
at once, but
Yeah,
they
and
were
that's-
doing it in 2 phases.
that's fine. Yeah, either way, fine. It really doesn't make much of a difference there that I can see. It's a site plan. We looked at it. Everything's done. I don't really see any problem with it. Anybody else? If not, then a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll move that we approve the application.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Michael York, seconded by Brandon Self. Is there any further discussion? We might want to put on there that, I think it's standard issue, isn't it, that the fire department looks at it every time? Or is it Mike?
They already have, but we will, as we.
Oh, they already have?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we will as the process goes through anyway.
Okay. Motion by Michael York to approve, seconded by Brandon Self. Is there any further discussion? And all those in favor indicate the same. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There you go. Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Before we move to the next one, I think this is a really interesting case, because we kept talking about having people maybe present that substantial was to them.
Yeah.
They actually, I mean, they didn't know everybody knew about that,
Yeah, right.
but by extension, by default, they did that, and that may be just part of the process as we move forward, and having other potential applicants do it similarly.
Yeah, that's good catch there, really. That pretty much is what happened here. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, what I wanted, I wasn't trying to interject on the deliberation, but another fact was a lot of what that timeframe was actually lead times on that second building. So it's a prefabricated building, they reached out to the company and they told them it could be a 2-year lead time. So they're thinking once they go through that, what they're calling phase one,
Yep.
it's gonna be 2 years before they get availability for that building.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. Yeah, lead time and things. Yeah, lots of things happen in the building.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, that brings us to item B. And that is a site plan review application for Horizons Engineering on behalf of Nucar Nissan of Keene. Request a site plan review for construction of a new flex space building and associated site improvements for their dealership at 544 Monadnock Highway. Yeah, let's see.
Yes, I'm Will Davis.
Bill Davis.
He's just gonna grab an easel, I think. Do folks on Zoom have the ability to participate in the meeting? The owner is on Zoom.
I believe they do.
Okay.
They can participate, correct?
They just need to unmute.
Good evening,
Go
everybody.
through you. Yeah.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can somewhat, but you might have to speak up or,
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
and just call our attention to it, you know, if we can't hear them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and could you identify yourself for our record?
Yeah, I'm Sean Hanlon, president of Nucar Family of Dealerships.
Sean Hanlon.
SHAWN, and the last name is HANLON.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, would you just go through the checklist?
Sure.
step through the checklist. So, name and address of owner is right here. Lot number shown right here on the condition sheet. North arrows are on each sheet as well as bar scales. The scales are different. There's a 40 scale and a 20 scale. The bar scales are shown. Name and addresses of the flat repair are here. Vicinity sketch provided here for context of the location. Names and addresses of the abutting landowner provided on the existing condition sheet here. The physical features and uses environment to see the site. So we have provided, some context of buildings adjacent. Thank you. Perimeter boundary lines are provided. Here you see this dark line, which is the boundary, as well as the size in acres and square feet. The existing structure on the site is shown here in white with the square footage and the existing condition sheet. Proposed, shown on the proposed sheet, proposed structure here, existing structure. Also a square footage. The existing road is shown out here, which we're not doing anything with. Let's see, access. So the existing access is right here. That's not being proposed to change. Parking and parking spaces. We've shown existing and proposed on the two sheets. As well as a summary here on the bottom of the existing condition sheet, noting existing and proposed parking. Let's see, landscape plan. So we had requested a waiver on the landscaping plan, which we can discuss due to the nature of the project, which is a building within the existing parking lot. And the nature of the car dealership, we're requesting a waiver. We can discuss that. Let's see, existing and proposed lighting. So the proposed lighting, it's hard to see, but the wall mounts are shown on this plan, and there's an illumination plan in your packet. It's a smaller sheet that shows the cut sheet for the down lights as well as the distribution. Let's see, I'll keep my spot here. Okay, natural features, go back to existing conditions. The primary natural feature adjacent to the site and partially on the site is this wetland that moves through here, and the stream right here. The grading is shown on existing conditions. You can see the gray dashed lines with numbers. Those are the existing contours, and proposed grades are noted with the building. The building floor elevation and proposed grades are to remain the same in the parking area. Let's see, water mains, culverts, fire hydrants. This is a well and septic site, so there's no water main or fire hydrants on the property. The well is right there. Culverts are shown, drainage pipes are noted with a D line type. Means of providing water supply, as I mentioned, it's a well. The existing well is right here. That'll be continue to be used as the proposed water source. Surface drainage patterns are indicated on topography. So the existing condition, there's a break here, so a portion of the site goes this way. Contours indicate flow in this direction here, and then this portion of the site moves this way. Let's see, copy of certification by a licensed septic designer. I was going through this before the meeting, and I think that we did not provide that, I don't believe. There is an existing septic right here. We are showing a proposed tank relocation. And so that's all gonna have to go before the town for septic approval. We will, because of the addition to the building, have to design and file a construction approval for a replacement system for the septic, but it will not have to be installed. There's a provision in the rules for that in this case. So that'll all be filed with Mike prior to going to DES. Kind of touched on the existing proposed wastewater system. It's a leach field under the parking lot in this location. And this tank, there's an existing tank here that's going to have to be relocated. Well, a new tank will be installed because the proposed building will be on that tank location. That tank flows into existing pump station here and it's pumped over. On-site well, we touched on that, and the radius, the 100-foot radius is right there. Soil survey. We provided the NRCS soils report with the package as well, but these darker dashed lines indicate the delineation of different soil types. The soil types are noted here in this type of font with the number and the type and the description in each area. The existing conditions plan doesn't note any deed restrictions or easements on the property. And architectural plans. We have architecturals, renderings and floor plans provided. That's the rendering floor plan, as well as building elevations, which we can go into detail on if you'd like. That's the checklist.
That's it? Yeah. Let's see, let's discuss the landscape plan waiver. Any questions on that?
So in this rendering, is this truly what it looks like today? There actually are plantings along this section of the structure? I don't remember seeing those.
Yeah, I don't know that there are.
So this isn't really what it looks like.
Not in the, I don't think there are plantings there.
Okay.
I think you might be right about that.
So we should disregard that aspect of this. There's no landscaping on this site that I remember.
There is.
Right there.
Is there where?
Yeah, I was there the other day.
In that front area, that sort of curved area?
Oh.
No.
There's landscaping in the center island here.
Right.
Um,
I'm just checking
Yeah.
accuracy. You know, we love accuracy.
Yes, the architects sometimes take liberties with the renderings, I guess. but-
Okay. And I don't agree with the reasoning, and this is just sort of for the record, because they're talking about basically doubling the size of the building. And the justification is that, that there's no new impervious surface plan for this project. I don't think I don't want to go on record as saying that warrants no landscaping, okay? But given the nature of this, the use and how the building's going to be accessed and whatnot, it'd be nice if you had landscaping in that front area of the building as is shown, on the rendering. That would be really nice, but.
Well, let's,
That's right. for that.
any other comments on the landscaping plan? Because they're asking for a waiver, we need to take a vote on it, whether we're gonna give them a waiver on that or not, because they did not provide it.
We need a waiver, Mr. Cornwall, we need a waiver
For the landscaping plan. So the motion would be in order to grant the waiver or not, one or the other.
I make a motion that we grant the waiver.
Motion by Brandon to grant the waiver that they do not need to provide the landscape plan.
But do we consider fencing to be part of landscaping? Is that
I
something?
don't think so.
Okay.
I suppose you could, but no, I don't think so.
I
Is there a
just-
Second the motion.
second? Go ahead, it's seconded.
Okay,
Now it's discussion phase.
okay, because I remember when we looked at this before, and we did a site visit way back. And the neighbor, it's,
Down to the right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have they touched base with you about concerns?
They're here, I think.
Not with me.
Isn't that you? Yes, they're here.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
I'm Joseph Abisha, this is my wife.
Okay, because there's the fence now, that white fence.
That's for the McGraths.
Oh,
On the
okay,
south
okay.
side of their property.
They were supposed to have trees installed years ago. I don't know what ever happened.
I think they're more like shrubs and trees.
They were guaranteed trees going here.
They're in the abutters side. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We're just doing the approval part. We're in the middle of the waiver there. Michael York did the second on the waiver. Is there any further discussion? And all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Let's see, anything else they're going to,
We'll do the fence, we'll talk about fence.
they're gonna provide a replacement design for the septic system, which is standard issue, what they generally do. So nothing else on that, so. Looks like it is all complete. Any other questions on the completeness of the application? If not, a motion to accept the application as complete is in order.
So, oh, yeah. I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Brandon to accept the application as complete and move on to public hearing. Okay, seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, now we can move to public hearing. I will open up the public hearing. Now you can make your presentation as to what's going on here.
Okay. So we touched on some of the existing conditions, but I'll just kind of breeze over them again here. So the main entrance is here, obviously. The gray hashed area is paved parking and vehicle display area for the dealership. There is a gravel parking area here as well. So this is the existing building. It's 12,190 square feet. The main entrance is right there. So we touched on wastewater. Existing is here, leach field here. Drainage pattern is split somewhere in this area. So a portion of the site comes down into this stormwater feature, and then majority of the site makes its way into this discharge point down the corner. So we'll move to the proposed site plan, which shows what's being envisioned here, which is a building addition here, which is 9,600 square feet. So this will allow them. There's also going to be a renovation of the existing building. So this will allow more mechanical lifts repair space, primarily in the addition. There are existing floor drains with a holding tank inside the building, which is typical of that kind of use. We'll be continuing that. The holding tank is right there. So we'll be moving or installing a new holding tank so that gets registered with DES and it's pumped regularly. Essentially, there's no discharge for that holding tank.
Will the existing tanks continue to be used?
They'll be discontinued because the building's going to sit on top of them, basically. So they'll be removed demolished as part of that. Let's see. So touched on wastewater. So this is the new septic tank location over to the pump station. So the roof has a slight pitch in either direction. So basically, ridge line is split. There's a gutter system with downspouts that are collected into these clean out structures. So this half is proposed to come over here and tie into that existing drainage structure, which will go to the stormwater feature there. This half is proposed to have a similar setup and tie into the existing drain infrastructure here. So the existing building has a similar setup with gutters and downspouts that are routed like that. We'll be tying into that system.
Are you saying that system exists already to the retention pond, it looks like?
Right, so existing infrastructure is a catch basin here, a drain manhole and a pipe.
And that whole pond or depressed area that exists already?
Yes,
That's been designed.
that is an existing condition on the site.
It is.
Yeah, so there's no increase in impervious surfaces. There's a minor shift in the areas that are contributing to the 2 discharge points. This one is slightly less, and this one is slightly more by 2 to 4%. So it's a very small adjustment to the way the stormwater is distributed on the site.
Does the water from the parking lot, as it exists today, flow into that storm basin?
Right, so in the existing condition,
I guess my point is, I just wonder if we're introducing more water into that basin.
right, so that's what I was pointing out, is it's actually going to be less water into that basin by a small amount. It's almost the same. But yes, a good, like a portion of this parking lot, like right in here, there's a break point, and then right in here, there's a break point that comes this way now. Yep. So the building will displace some parking, which, so if you look at, right now there's parking right here, there's 20 spaces in this location. Those will be eliminated as part of the project. There is room for backing aisles, so these will remain along the perimeter. And we've shown new parking here, 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 and here to balance that out and add parking back in. It is a net loss, but there's an excessive amount of parking on the site. And so we far exceed the number of parking spaces required for customers, and there's a lot of storage for inventory. So let's see, any questions on this plan before I flip over? Okay.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, are you decreasing lighting poles or increasing on this end? Will there be any change in the amount of poles, lights, and things like that?
Right, so we're not, sorry, let me just make sure I'm speaking correctly. We're not introducing any pole lighting. The only lights are down lights, so it's wall mounted, like wall packs on the building. And I'm just checking, I don't think we have, there is one on this end of the building, and then a few on the back and a few on the front.
And they are what height?
Well, let me just make sure I get that right.
They're on the,
They're on the building, and I believe they're 12 feet high.
are they directed straight out or are they
They're directed straight down,
down?
Like full cut off?
Could I get your name for the record? You folks,
Joseph
Joseph
Anashevitz
Anashevitz
and Peg.
and Peg Anashevitz. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
On the lighting, the concern that we have, we've lived there more than 30 years, okay? The poles are very high. The poles in the front, we live directly across the street, okay? Yeah, over here. Yes. But anyway, the poles are very high. The front ones seem to be directed straight down and don't seem to cause much of a problem. But the lights in the back seem to be directed toward the highway, toward our house. So our house, now they keep the lights on all night long too, so our house is well lit, our entire, I can walk in the dark at midnight and see perfectly clear. Okay, it's that bright. Previous planning board meetings and zoning meetings have said, asked the previous owner to dim the lights in the evening after 9:30. And he did that for several years, and then he gradually had, I don't know, computer problems or whatever, but he stopped doing it. And he, called an occasion, they'd change, they would fix it for a while, then it stopped. But now, for the last several years, including the new ownership, the lights are all bright, and they stay on 24 hours, all night long, every night. Okay, it's bad enough when it's bright, but in the last month or two, they've had some lights that have been defective, and it's sort of like a strobe light, and it's hard to sleep. But right now, evidently, they must have fixed the two lights that were bad, but we have concerns about the brightness at night.
Can I just ask, I'm just curious, so you mean in the back, you mean some of the lights that
The
are
second and
pulling out?
third layer of lights.
The middle layer is worse, because it's danger at our house. The highlights don't bother us.
Not as much. Not
They're-
the front one seems
It's
to be
the
directly
second layer
straight
that
down.
they've added that is just, and it never lets up.
These are still the pole lights you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, they have a set,
The
they
lights
have
on the
a
building itself.
secondary
are
set,
fine.
and then they have a high set. I think that increased a few years ago, because they used to just have high. I can understand that they want to shine on the product. But I don't
Yeah.
know. But these are aimed, they don't, I don't know if there's a way of
Just walking from
Yeah, but
home,
some kind of
working out.
show.
I think there is, we were through this before one time on a site plan on this same property, and I think they had said they could shield that, and I thought they were going to shield that.
don't.
Maybe it didn't. I think,
We ended up shielding
The front one.
some of the front and some towards the McGrath
Maybe that's.
side. And I think you guys may be victims of being good neighbors. And not that Mr. McGrath is not a good neighbor, but he's got no qualms about calling me when there's an issue, including the blinking light thing you guys said. And I called Tony right away, and Tony took care of it, as you noted.
Yes.
And I appreciate you taking that on yourself and working out with the neighbor. It's always my preferred method for a lot of reasons. But you're always welcome to call me as well if you.
What's your name?
My name's Mike. I'm the guy you call when you're unhappy with your neighbor.
Oh, thank you.
And, but it is something that, I mean, it's a great opportunity to have it. I'm glad you guys are good, so that this young man can hear it and bring it back so we can get it fixed hopefully once and for all.
well,
We've
they,
never complained too much. I think we've been,
I've
actually,
never mentioned ma'am. It's too
no,
bad.
well, actually, we have a sense of rhythm about that road. If you live there long enough, there's the people that go to work, and then there's the things that happen at night, and we've had some strange experiences. He's giving gas to people that the place is closed, I don't have gas, and he's bailed out a guy whose trailer fell apart, and he's repaired it, got him on the road, and there's a couple over there freezing, waiting for car repair, and we went over and had them come in now, or, offered, I mean, we are a good neighbor to them, so, and I have fair tolerance for this, it's just I wanted to really be sure there wouldn't be increased, lighting.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's not gonna be any new pole lights for sure, and Mike, if there was a simple way to do cutoffs, I'm sure that they'd be open to that too,
Yeah,
we
we
did
should
a
probably-
shielding on the other
We should probably
ones.
look at some shielding and things like that.
I didn't know that was possible.
you probably should, and also as a condition of that site plan, a prior site plan, it was that either the lights are gonna be dimmed for a certain length over the night, or on a timer somehow, or half of them are gonna be shut off. I do recall going through that whole thing, that they're gonna have certain lights on, certain lights off at different times, and it's probably in our records for that last
And
site
that does
plan.
not expire.
And you're right, it doesn't expire, it's still in effect, you're correct,
That was
yes.
the previous one.
Yes, it was, but it didn't, like Mike just said, it does not expire, it goes with the site.
The rule's the rule.
So Mike, if you can get us that, I'm sure we'd be happy to.
I'm sure we can.
I have another question too. In the previous site plan, I remember they talked about trucks coming in and going around the north side of the building and being able to, drop off whatever and then circle around to the south and then back around. Is there still gonna be room for trucks to do that? It doesn't appear to be that.
Because otherwise it kind of. Yeah, isn't something that was asked of us to look at, so I'm not, we could look at that, I'm not sure, but, they will, I mean, they will need to get trucks around there, I'm sure.
Well, let's ask the owner. He's still online, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that lot certainly provides plenty of room to get trucks in and out, regardless of the size of the footprint of that building. I mean, that's a lot more space than we're normally used to dealing with to getting trucks in and off a parcel of land. So, I mean,
We're talking about the backside of that new building, correct?
I'm not necessarily sure they have to go in the backside of the building. I guess
Well,
that's the part I'm not understanding, I guess.
I guess what we're talking about was a flow through the building where they would enter from Route 12, go up on, we'll say, the north side or the left as we're looking at the site plan, left side of the building, go around the back of the building, come out the front rather than having to turn the thing around. Is that your normal flow through there?
I believe that is the flow for a parts delivery.
Mhm.
But the parts delivery trucks usually, I was thinking more of the lines on car carriers dropping off vehicles.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me, but that's not your normal flow for car carriers?
I don't believe so. Tony is at the meeting, is he not? Will, is Tony there?
Yes, sir. Oh, I guess he's online.
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. They go on the left side of the building and they load and unload in the dirt lot away from the customer parking.
And then they turn around there or they go around the building? That was the question. Do they still go around the building and come out the front?
Yeah, so they pull head in into the dirt lot, they back up and they pull out the same way they came in. They don't go around the building because technicians are pulling cars in and out of that service bay. So they don't interfere with customers or technicians. Yeah, so they just pull out the same way they come in.
Okay.
And Tony, you should introduce yourself. You've been the general manager there for quite a long time at that location.
Yes, sir. Hello, everybody.
For the record, your name is Tony what?
Percoco.
Percoville?
Percoco.
P-E-R-C-O-C-O.
RCA.
C-O-C-O.
P-E-R-C-O-C-O.
Oh, COCA.
Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, yes, Steve.
What time of day do the trucks arrive, the car carriers?
Well, let's let them finish the presentation, then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the whole thing.
Yeah, I can just touch on the building as well. So this is a rendering of what it would look like from the road. So the exterior gets a facelift as well of the existing building, and then this is the addition section. There's the floor plan. So the extent of the existing building ends here. So this is existing, this is proposed, but this area gets all reconfigured and renovated as well. You can see the lifts for the mechanics, 2 hand wash car bays or car wash bays, and there's vehicular door here and here for the addition space, and there's also vehicles can come in here and on these 2 doors and this door. So there's 2 doors on each side of the existing block, 1 back here and 1 on the side. We did make 1 adjustment at the request of planning to add a door here. So your plan may not reflect that. I do have some 11 by 17 copies if you'd like, but this is the intent to provide an additional means of egress. It's not required by code, but it was a good suggestion, so we did make that adjustment.
You have 2 doors from the new building into the existing.
There are, yes, correct, two doors.
Those fire rated doors for closing, isolate that.
Yes. It looks like there is a, yes, fire rated door. Yep.
Very well.
What's that? Oh, yes. And then these are elevation views of each side of the building. So you know, this is the front on the roadside. So entrance here, the vehicular doors are mentioned in the person door there. This is the back of the building, so you're looking at it as if you're standing in the back, so the existing block of the building is here. This is the addition. And then this is the side over by the gravel parking lot. So on the north side, on this side of your site plan, is what the building will look like there with the front entrance there. And then this is the, I guess, south end with the garage bay. And then you can see the entrance kind of in the distance of that elevation view. I think that covers the plans, and I'd be happy to, you know, further discuss whatever you all would like.
Concludes the presentation, and Steve, you had a question?
Yes. What time of day do the car carriers, delivery cars, usually arrive?
I'm gonna defer to Tony on that one.
I'm sorry, I didn't fully hear the question.
What time of day do the car carrying trucks arrive?
Yes.
At any point in time during the day. There's not a designated time that they arrive.
They arrive at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I wouldn't see them if they pulled in at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's possible that they could and they drop it off. It's unusual that it would be around that time, but sometimes we show up to work and cars are there and they put the keys in the drop box. Most of the time we receive the car during the days of operation.
Whereabouts on the property do the motor vehicle deliveries arrive?
I think he described that as it would come in and go this way to the gravel lot area, right? They would pull in that way, unload, and then back here, head out.
Okay.
Could you address the staff comments that they had? Did you see those?
I did, I don't
Some of
know.
those are pretty important.
I borrow your copy? Sure. So horn and strobe fire protection system on proposed buildings. I'm sure that we will get through that with building permit. Identification of bulk fuel storage and capacities on the plans. We did not share those, I don't believe, so we have to provide that.
Yeah, that was probably
So it showed the location, but we want it to be labeled, and make sure what's in there.
Yeah.
Because that fenced area is fuel pump, correct?
Is there here?
Yeah, right there.
I believe that's correct, yeah. And
There's probably those dimensions there, just want to make sure.
yeah, and we do note 1,000-gallon propane tank there, but I don't think, yeah, there's. We could certainly do that as a condition. Details regarding destination and use of contents of holding tanks for the addition. So I can explain that. The trench drains will be here, you know, in the middle of the mechanics bay, and primarily used for the hand wash of the cars. So in the mechanics bay, it's not going to see a lot of liquid, or it's not like they're washing cars in there. But it is the low point in that. So it'll be.
It says the net new car wash bay drainage.
Correct.
Specifically, there is a car wash in there.
Correct. There's 2 hand wash bays. So it's not like a
Okay.
car wash you drive through with a bunch
Okay.
of water, but it's just somebody with a hose, right? And so, yes, that's what it'll be. And so that water, they do it now. They pump it every few weeks and it gets hauled off kind of like your septic tank, and disposed of. A similar process. Distribution and management plan for stormwater. I think we've touched on that in terms of what's being proposed. Yes.
So actually, I don't, for me, you didn't, and this is what I'm nervous about.
Okay.
What I'm nervous about is this wasn't here. And regardless of how it was pitched, Steph and I kind of had a good time. We were looking at this thing on Google Earth And of course, the nature of this type of operation, the cars go in different places. So some days the cars were straight, and then there were months where the cars were kind of diagonal. What does that really mean? Well, to me, it really means that when the water's running through here and it's hitting all those obstructions, it's changing the flow of the water. And in here, we've got that happening. And really, especially for the McGraths and the future owners of this property, I really want to make sure that there's some stamped verification that this is sized right. Not that there's 2% more, but it's sized right, period. Because times have changed and standards have changed. I'm just a little bit concerned that now that we've got a concentrated load, we've got all this roof, we've got all of this stuff, it's being directed to a spot, and it's coming out of pipe. There's no more hitting tires, there's no more hitting obstructions, there's no more where it might go, where it might not go. It's all going in here, and we know that for a fact. So I'm just a little bit nervous about this. I want to make sure that it's sized right, because I've watched a lot of guys size some pretty robust stuff lately, and based on the current standards, it's still getting to the top. So
How would that be increased going into there when, isn't that paved currently right now?
it is paved, but
So all that water in the pavement right now, where is it from?
depends on what gets in its way, I guess is my point. Now there's nothing in its way anymore. We know where it's being captured, and it's being directed straight there no matter what. And I'd just like to see, I think it's not unreasonable for them to bring the math that this works.
Oh, I agree. I was just curious as to.
That's kind of.
Yeah, and we didn't provide a drainage report. We did delineate sub-catchment areas and ran it through HydroCAD to look at what the distribution was, right? So we're confirming that it was basically a very similar split in the stormwater, and we weren't increasing significantly either discharge point. What we didn't do, and we don't really have information to really, we would have to do some investigation as to how this stormwater pond was constructed, designed and constructed.
Certainly try and
right?
supply you with the original plans.
Yeah, it was on a previous site plan.
And I did ask for that.
Yeah, I looked earlier, but I couldn't find it.
Couldn't find it.
Well, we're gonna have to, we gotta drive to a different building and go into some catacombs to find those little plans.
Okay. Well, I don't know if the board can. We would be happy to do that as a condition. I don't know exactly how you can handle that, but we can look at that if that's a constraint. I mean, typically we're looking at making sure that we're not increasing rates of runoff for the current, the pre-development condition, which is what we've tried to accomplish here. Labeling of scale on the site plan pages. I think we have bar scales on all of our sheets. Is there something missing? Bar scale there.
I think on sheet C2, it says it's 40 feet per inch, and actually it's 20. On the drawings that I looked at anyways, I think it was on C201.
This is 20. And this is 40. This is a bigger view. So
I know the one I looked at, maybe it was in these here that we had at the town hall there. Let me just check, make sure I'm not.
I want to make sure our bar scales are right.
It's 20.
That's 20, okay. You're good.
Okay. All right. So, and then all local permits required. Right, so we will need obviously building permit, septic permit, and then we'll need to register the holding tank with DES. That's not a local permit, but that'll be required as well.
Okay, questions from the board? Yes, sir.
A further comment about auto carriers at night. They do show up at 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they are independent contractors, so I know it's very difficult to control them because they really are independent. But they might park directly across the street on the road and try to unload 1 or 2 vehicles. And so the engine's running, they never shut them off for 1, 2, or 3 hours while they unload. or sometimes they go into the lot in the back, and they might, sleep for a while. They're not supposed to do that, and it happens very rarely, but it does happen, okay?
It is actually illegal for them to offload on the road.
Well,
Yeah, but it happens quite, I have never
Well,
seen
you-
an accident, maybe
You,
one.
you can call the police department.
Well, I've taken photographs, but these are independent guys, they
Yeah.
don't care, they come from all over.
But the
They're all
law-
different sizes, you've got
Right.
big rigs, you've got shorter guys, you've got the one person operators. And, I don't know, but the other day, they were all in the rain and they were lined up with the yellow books and I. took pictures of them
Well,
on
the laws and the rules are already in place
Yeah.
for that cover that. I mean, yeah, the planning board can say, yeah, no unloading and all that type of
But
stuff,
they
but
don't
the
know.
laws are already there. That
They
covers
don't
that.
know, these rigs, these
Yeah,
guys,
I know it.
they don't know.
just one other question. At one of the previous planning meetings, there's this, that little swampy area with a somewhat of a pond at the north side. That was supposed to have been made into a fire pond of some sort.
The new plan worked out with the architect, that they were able to come up with a different scheme to separate the structures. That's part of the fire doors and rest of that stuff, so that pond doesn't have to be built, and that wetland doesn't have to be disturbed.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? So let's see, we have a few items here concerning the lighting. And actually, to go back to what was approved prior on the lighting, have to research that too, and the approvals there. But you need to label the fuel farm, I think is what we talked about tonight, correct? And also size the detention pond, or actually certify the detention pond. The other that came up here. So I guess the question is, can you do that in 2 weeks? If you can, in 2 weeks, I would prefer you do it in 2 weeks and we continue the meeting until then, because if you have to change something on there for that drainage and stuff, you'll have to come back and do the whole thing over again. If you don't, then it's done and you're all set.
Yeah. Can we just talk about what you're asking us to do with the stormwater?
We're asking you to certify that existing detention pond can handle what's there now, and what's asked of it now with the new building as well, but basically what's there as well. Is it sized for that, I guess, maybe what, 25-year storm, 100-year storm?
Well, that's my question, right? Is it, what are we designing to? Because I don't know what the design intent was for this. We could check the capacity and report that to you.
Well, we usually have you report for 50-year storms and I think 20 or 25-year storms, I think is how we generally do it. Mike, do you have any?
It'd be incumbent on us to look up the old minutes, look through the file, and I don't think it would be unreasonable for him to design it to whatever it was designed to then, just to make sure it's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
a
just
good
make
point.
sure that we're meeting the previously approved intent. Right.
Intentions, right.
Okay, and so that 2 weeks is a little bit contingent on how quickly we can get the previous.
It isn't done.
The previous plan.
I'll work really hard tomorrow to find whatever it is I can find.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think we would certainly.
You could do that.
Prefer, I mean, 2 weeks, it's much better than a month, so yeah.
Is
All right.
this functionality affected by trees growing in the pond? Does that matter?
They'll have to certify it. They'll have to take a look at it and see what's there and if it's filled in or what, but they'll get the original drawings that it was designed as or to. Yes, ma'am.
Is this washing business a noisy operation? I would assume it isn't, but it's not a
Oh, it's
noisy.
vehicle washing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's inside the
You're
facility. It's just it's just like a hose, hand hose.
So there's not a lot of water motors and stuff.
Correct.
And that tank you have out back, you're moving that storage tank out back there. And is that watertight for as far as groundwater getting into it?
Yes.
How's that? It is,
Yeah.
right? It's sealed. Okay.
Yeah.
So how about that? We continue the public hearing until our next meeting, which is, and I wrote it down someplace, is the 28th of March. And in the meantime, if you could put a few things on the drawings, like the fuel farm there, and just get the information on the engineering. Any other questions about the board? I mean, oh, yes.
Yeah, what's Sean's last name?
Yeah.
Sean Hanlon, Hanlon.
That's right.
And if you could discuss the lighting there, as far as maybe toning it down a little bit there in the front. And Mike, while you're researching that, if you come across the provisions for the timing or whatever, I think it was like every other light was put on. It was something like that, I recall. It should be in the notes, okay. Anything else from the board? If not, then a motion to continue the public hearing until our next meeting without further notice, which is March 28th, would be in order. Motion to that effect by Michael York, seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks to all of you. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Okay, that brings us to item C. Item C is a site plan review application, Fieldstone Land Consultants on behalf of Asher Construction LLC. They request a site plan review for the construction of a contractor-based facility at 0 Safford Drive.
Yeah, so the record, John Noonan with Fieldstone Land Consultants here on behalf of Asher Construction LLC as the applicant. Here is a site plan review for 0 Safford Drive, the contractor base. And I'll start by walking through the application checklist.
Great, thank you.
Name and address of owner. So shown both on the applicant and landowner on the cover sheet and on each section of our title block on each sheet. Tax map and lot number also shown on the front cover sheet and each title block sheet. North arrow written in graphic scale. So north arrow, graphic scale, and written scale below it. Name and address of the plat preparer. So on each sheet is Fieldstone Land Consultants. The vicinity sketch. So both on the cover sheet and then each site plan sheet here, we have a locus map. Names and addresses of all budding landowners. So they're shown here for the budding landowners, both their tax map, lot, and then name and address of the butters, which match our butters list. Physical features and land uses of land within 200 feet of the site. So this is a little bit smaller scale than existing conditions, but within 200 feet are the existing buildings. So this is Monadnock Highway, Safford Drive. So this would be the fairgrounds along Route 12 here, Monadnock Highway, buildings on the abutting lots. Physical features such as wetlands, pavement surfaces, and utilities along this area. So very minimal amount of development directly next to it. Perimeter boundary lines and the lot area in square feet and acres. So we have the acreage, 6.88 acres, square feet below. Lot line shown, outlined here in orange. The shape, size, height, location of existing structures on the site and those that are proposed. So there are no existing structures on the site, and our proposed structures are these 3 buildings here. Identification of access from the site, public streets, site distances from the access points, curb cuts, and proposed changes, if any. So there is an existing paved curb cut that is off of Safford Drive that was put in when Safford Drive was built. This was, I think, originally a staging area for construction when they did the road improvements here. So they had a lot of construction equipment in here. So They had originally put in this paved entrance, the driveway uses that existing curb cut onto the property. So there is no change in site distance, which exceeds 200 feet in both directions. And then location and number of parking and loading spaces. So we have it called out with these circles here, a number of spaces, which are all in front of the units, and then in between handicap spaces is 2, and then we have 55 total parking spaces. Landscape plan. So landscape plan, most of it being retained, and then some plantings that are shown there. Location, type, and nature of all existing proposed lighting. Each building has a wall pack light, LED, downcast lighting. A little dark here to see, but each light is shown, and then the outline of the as far out as each light goes. So nothing faces an abutting property, certainly not towards any residential lighting, and these are full cutoff LED fixtures that are shown here. The natural features such as water bodies, ledge outcropping, wetlands. So as highlighted here, these edges of blue are the wetlands. There's a substantial amount of wetlands on the property. So, and then onto the abutting, you see it's a large wetland structure here that all continues down. Well, existing and proposed grades, topographic contours at 5 foot intervals. Existing contours being the lighter dashed lines here, those are the existing contours. And then the proposed contours, as you can see around the space, are these heavier lines. And then also to the parking, so those are proposed contours and their spot grades there. The size and accurate location of all existing and proposed water mains, culverts, fire hydrants, and fire ponds. So on both our proposed utility sheet and also our existing condition sheet, we show utilities that are existing and proposed. So water, sewer that run down Safford Drive, and our proposed connections for other utilities such as electrical. And so existing down overhead electrical down Safford Drive as well. Means of providing water supply. So there's an existing stub for water that was done when Safford Drive was done, so that the site will end up connecting to that water supply that will be municipal water. Surface drainage patterns, so on the grading and drainage plan, we basically have there's flow arrows here, so showing the grade 1.5% down, pitching this way, and this is a closed drainage system, so it's flowing through a pipe and then out to our drainage system and then out of the pipe. Here, the site generally drains from the east to the west, away from Safford Drive. A copy of certification of a licensed septic designer. So that's not applicable. We're going to be connecting to municipal sewer. No septic system proposed. Location and type of proposed sewage disposal system. So as mentioned, we're connecting to the septic or sewer that's in, there's no septic. There's an existing sewer manhole. We'll be connecting to municipal sewer here. And location of existing and proposed on-site well showing 75-foot radius. That's also not applicable because we're onto municipal water. So we have it checked off. That should say NA on our application. Soil survey data from Chester County soil. So it's showing both this plan for grading, and then our existing conditions. This is the subdivision that was approved in 2022 for 3-lot subdivision that also shows the soils further from our lot. So our subject lot is this lot here. It shows the soils down through this section of Safford Drive. Location of any existing or proposed easements, deed restrictions, and or covenants. So anything on the survey plan by Huntley Survey had listed anything, but there is no deed restrictions on the subject lot. And architectural plans. So we had submitted a elevation drawing, what the buildings would look like, and then also a building footprint. So in these plans here, it's shared entryway, so it'd be like a storefront type glass doors and then overhead bay doors. So these would be targeted for contractors where they would rent a unit, maybe have a small office in that. So they would share entryway to each unit on this side, and then they each have their own bay garage door. And then architectural floor plan. So this shows a 5-unit, and then there's 2 5-unit buildings and 1 6-unit building. So the 6-unit building just has an additional. So that's the last item.
Good. Last item. Any questions on the completeness of the application? If not, then a motion to accept the application as complete is in order.
I'll make that.
Motion by Brandon to accept the application as complete and move to public hearing. Is there seconded by Michael York? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we're moving to public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing. And you may. Go ahead.
So public sewer goes all the way up there?
Yeah.
Is that all the log and it's not even logged?
It's not logged in.
We mapped out the entire thing.
Oh, it's not in the GIS, you mean?
So I like second guess
Maybe we should
myself.
hold payment to the engineers then. Because that wasn't put in there too long ago.
Yeah, when they built Safford Drive, they did water sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nanotech Carlisle ties into that same sewer structure.
Public hearing is open and you may.
Thank you. I'm actually going to start on the existing conditions just to show where we are on the property. So this lot, so Safford Drive was built maybe 15 years ago or so, and then this subdivision was done in 2022 into a 3-lot subdivision. This is the subject lot here, which fronts, they have a small amount of frontage here, 104 feet, that is directly on Route 12, Monadnock Highway. The other frontage following along the Safford Drive here. So you have the fairgrounds here, Clearwater Pool is right here on this corner of Safford Drive. Just to give everyone an idea right where we are. I think a lot of people are familiar with this area.
Just a second. Let me interrupt you for a
Yes,
second.
sir.
What is?
So I found a discrepancy where you guys have 1 acreage on labeled on your plans, but we have different acreage. So for us,
Yep, so the subdivision sheet showing 6.88 acres.
yeah, ours is more like 5 something.
Saw that it had 5.51 acres somewhere with 2.5 acres in the description.
Correct.
So is that from the tax map?
Yeah.
So you have
So
the survey there?
subdivision.
You have a copy of the subdivision survey, correct?
Yeah,
That would
so
be
I'm-
more accurate than the tax maps would be, in my opinion.
Exactly, yeah, so we would have to go off of the subdivision that was approved, so this was a licensed land survey, it would be Huntley Survey and Design, so this was the stamped plan, so this acreage and delineations of these bounds
It's all surveyed.
is all surveyed, so it has to go off of our 6.88 acres, so if the tax map has to be updated. Then it would have to be updated.
Yeah, thank you.
So this lot, as I kind of mentioned before, when they built Safford Drive, this was kind of a staging area. So they had equipment, they put in a lot of their sand, some of these gravels, everything else was stored up here. So there's a high spot up here, pretty nice soils up in this area. I think as most people know, this is a pretty large wetland complex out behind here that goes down along Route 12 and then also following Safford Drive all the way down. So the proposal is to place three buildings for contractor base, 2 buildings that have 5 units, 1 building that has 6 units, parking based on 2 units per unit, and then 2 ADA compliant spaces. So This is a different orientation than a surveyed plan, but this is the high point here. Outlined in blue is that large wetland complex here that would go down towards Route 12 and kind of follow Safford Drive parallel on Route 12. So everything's up here on the high side. This green outline would be the extent limit of work, the proposed tree line. So where this proposed tree line is outside of the wetland lines here, so there's no wetland impact. I know there was a comment in the review about the driveway with a wetland, but there's no impact, and that is on an existing curb cut, and it's paved access in past the property line. So we're utilizing that same area and just making it 20 feet wide, 25 feet wide, which it's about 23-ish, 22-ish now. So no wetland impacts. We're looking at a stormwater treatment system out in the back. So that was one of the other comments, was how the stormwater would be handled and how it would impact wetlands. So everything is draining down as shown on our grading plan. Goes into more detail on how stormwater would be handled from grading plan. So draining down, catch basins in the middle of the drive aisle. Drive aisle out here as well, connecting to the catch basins coming down, picking up any of the flow along that this wetland comes down and flows will be brought into this head wall and culverts, be connected in, and then it would come out back. And this would be a detention pond that would hold and release to match, so that the proposed conditions with this amount of impervious area between the buildings, the pavement areas, would be offset, so that the water coming out of being detained here would be matching, or it's actually less than what the existing condition is with no buildings there. So it's not going to impact the wetlands in any way.
So is that overflow? I mean, if it's, the water's too high?
Yes. Yeah, so what it does is water builds up in it, and there's a orifice cut and at different elevations based on a 2, 10-year, and a 50-year storm. So it lets it out slower, lower velocity than what the existing condition is.
And it lets it into where the wetland?
It would outlet to a riprap apron here, and then it bleeds out basically downstream here, and then eventually, so the wetland is down in here. So it eventually gets to the wetland. It's been treated for contaminants between the swale out front here, and then also for long-term detention in that pond. So that's the grading and drainage plan. Utilities, so this was kind of, there is a water stub out, so when they built Safford Drive, a lot of this was planned that these lots would be coming along for development. So there is a manhole placed here. We believe there could actually be a stub out of that manhole already.
I was going to ask you if there's a stub.
We think there is, so that's something we're gonna have to investigate. It did say about one of the comments about verifying our capacity here. The town, as in other past projects, has well above capacity with the treatment plant. But as we apply for building permit as they go forward, we could certainly provide any information on that capacity, get something from Joe DeRusso and Aaron Costa on that. But
there's plenty of capacity.
Yeah, there's a lot of capacity for the town, and this is a brand new, fairly new infrastructure here with water and sewer.
Hasn't been used yet, so it's still brand new, really.
Yeah, I think Nanotech and Carlisle are the only ones attached to this branch. So yeah, water sewer attaching to the existing stubs and manhole there. Utilities is going to be brought from the overhead that's also along right here on Safford Drive, brought over to a riser pole so that everything on site's underground for electric. And we don't have propane shown or fuel for heating. So right now they're kind of weighing out if it's going with an electric heat pump, and it would just be electric or versus propane. So I think by the time if this is approved and moves to its building permit, they would have that decided, and we would show on a plan updated of if it's a propane or electric fuel source or heating source. Really. So pretty basic on the utilities there. Lighting plan. As mentioned on the checklist, we have just wall packs along the front. So not facing towards You know, there's also a large buffer of woods around this, but not facing towards any neighbors or directly to the road. These are full cutoffs, are facing down, and they are LED lights. Landscaping plan, so the outline in green is all the trees to remain. So that would be the limit of cutting. And then based on our parking spaces, we're taking that these trees remaining would be what covers for perimeter parking, because this provides a buffer. This is all wooded along through here. So it's not that the trees are just at this spot, it's actually, this is all woods that remains. And then we end up with requiring 1 tree and 4 of the shrubs. So we have PGM, the small rhododendrons. So we have 4 of those right here, and the 1 tree, which is a red maple shown here. And we just placed it here because it's, oh, this is wooded already, so it kind of makes it look nicer as you enter the site. We have erosion control details and then construction details. It's already, as part of the checklist, we also have building elevation of what the buildings would look like, and these would be finalized with elevation drawings and architectural drawings. It's part of the building permit and then the floor plan. So this is for a 5 unit, and the 5 and the 6 unit is just 1 additional and slightly narrower.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board? Do you have any tenants lined up yet?
I don't believe they do have tenants lined up yet. That'd be something that I lean on natural construction that they, but I have not been told that they have any.
Well, sometimes they don't.
That's right.
Just curious.
You have a question, Mike?
Yeah, if they do go with above ground propane tanks, obviously code's gonna dictate where they go to a certain extent. There's obviously an aesthetic too. You guys want the plan back where those tanks are being placed?
Regardless of whether you put in propane or not, we need to have a spot on the plan where you would put them if you do use the propane.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was your question? All right.
Close enough.
Just clearing it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Even below grade, you would want to show on the plan where
Yeah,
the
we would know,
locations.
need to know where they are. Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, just going back to the drainage. There's a concern that water coming off of this hill from somewhere, even into Wilson Pond, you can see piece there. Higher level of phosphate, or I can I'm not sure where the phosphates are coming from. Maybe the homestead fertilizing their lawn or whatever, right? So my concern is any water that's actually running into the wetland that is free of contaminants. Because what happens in wetlands, instead of the water, going down, the water flows through them, right? Because they're already got the water, doing its thing. So that would be a concern that I would have, and maybe what you have is adequate. I'm not certainly the expert on it, but I'd like it to kind of be validated that it is accurate, and if not, increase the height of the berm or whatever you might need to do. So.
Okay. Yeah, so as we shown on our grading and drainage plan, we're utilizing deep sump catch basins through here, so that'll catch most of your sediment load. And then anything that flows out, so anything along the front here is already basically just running through this grass area and woods area before it's captured and brought into that system. And then anything off the pavement and roofs is coming around and then being brought into the system. And basically over detention time was sitting there, you end up with everything falling out of solution. And then you have a higher orifice and a lower orifice that allows how much water is coming out during a 2, 10, 50-year storm. So these are kind of typical practices for what the state, if it required an alteration of terrain permit, this is what we'd be submitting. And that's ultimately to treat the water and then also detain the water and meet velocities going off site. So the the whole theory behind how you design it is ultimately, once this is built, everything flowing off the site is matching or less than what it was in the existing condition without those buildings and pavement there.
As far as snow removal and stuff, where would that
Yeah,
be?
so we have snow removal beyond the edge of the parking. Snow storage in this area here, this end here, so that's where we have our drainage coming across. So basically just at the edge of the parking lot. This side is curved, which is closest to the wetland, so that nothing is flowing to the wetland. We're capturing it with curbing and then a catch basin there, so nothing flows directly to the wetland.
Do
It's detained.
you anticipate the use of road salt? I wouldn't see a need for it if it's level and it's plowed.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty small. I mean, unlikely, unless I could see it, maybe someone who rents one of these units doing it right in front of the doorway or something. The parking lot of the size that I wouldn't expect.
It'll depend, the uses will depend individually when they come before the board as to what they're gonna do there. I don't think they are, but we can check that. Getting back to your drainage plan there.
Yes.
The catch basin 1, 2, and 3, it looks like they're laid level. Is that correct? Is that a reason you go back to your drainage?
Yes,
plan?
oh, yes, the pitch of the pipe between catch basins is level.
And how does that work? How does that not fill up with sediment at this level? How does it drain into your swale back there?
So basically with hydraulic pressure, so it's lower once it gets here, it pitches down here. So this will be draining, and even with this laid level, it'll pull the water through here. The deep sump catch basin, so you have 3 feet below where the pipe goes in and out. So the sediment falls into the bottom of the pipe. You always end up with a water level in that catch basin, and it slowly trickles, and it'll just constantly pull through the flat pipe.
So you wouldn't think that pipe, that whole span there would eventually fill up with sediment? I'm just wondering, why is it not pitched?
It's
Why is it not pitched?
unmaintained.
Because the inverts I'm going by the invert elevations of those catch basins, and it says laid level. I was just curious, I hadn't seen that before. What is the purpose of a drainage line being level and not tilted?
It was based on just cover on pipe to get it over to this point, because grading wise, I think it's
You didn't have enough elevation, is that what you're talking about?
correct. Yeah, so elevation drop from here downhill was fine.
Mhm.
And then this is so you're almost uphill.
So is that gonna work? I mean, you're an engineer, right?
It would work.
But does that really make sense to do that? I mean, do you do that occasionally on other? flats?
Occasionally, yeah,
Put
if
it
we have
level?
to, if there's a limiting factor,
Really?
such as that.
Okay. Very odd that the inverse was the same on those. Okay, if you say it works, you're the engineer, so we will take you at your word for it. Otherwise, you'll have a vac truck up there in a couple.
Wait, I was gonna say, it'll be geysers.
Yeah, so the handicap parking spaces in between the buildings there.
Yes.
There's lighting on the front, but there's no lighting on the ends of those buildings. Would it be a good idea to have a light shine on those handicap ones?
Right, they're just on the door.
Yeah.
The lighting is just along these entryways.
Yeah, I'm wondering
We could certainly add a
maybe
light.
just one on either side of the building there, just to
Yeah.
light those areas there.
Certainly.
Let's see, and the space in there, I'm wondering, looking at the drawing there, these are contractors, and they're gonna have deliveries there, possibly tractor trailer truck, and is there a maneuverable room in there for a tractor trailer? It's not like a building like down the street from there where everyone is there working, where you can go down to the molding department and say, okay, you gotta move your vehicle, there's got a tractor trailer coming in here. These guys are gonna be leaving their vehicles there and they're gonna be gone somewhere. So I'm wondering about maneuverability in there to get a tractor trailer in there to
Yeah, there'll be certainly larger delivery trucks, but this would not handle a tractor trailer turning around. There's not.
No,
This would be too tight for a tractor trailer. He's aiming to get contractors as like small trades and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they'll still have deliveries. We're probably box trucks too.
Box trucks.
I don't know.
Which a box truck, they can make this turn.
Yeah, I can see a box truck getting in there, but
A tractor trailer would not be able to turn
I
around.
don't think so. And no loading docks there, correct?
No loading dock.
You say the box truck could make this turn and point it to the handicap parking spots.
Right, so there's an aisle between here. A little hard on this one because of the dark. So this is 24 feet between the end of the space. So you basically have a standard road width between here and this T. So a box truck could pull in and back up this way and out. But a tractor trailer, certainly, this is not laid out for tractor trailer deliveries or anything of that nature. And as mentioned, there's no loading dock either that you would back a tractor trailer up to. Convenient that smaller contractors rented the spaces.
So it's still, if they do get deliveries by tractor trailer, they'd have to deliver out in the street, I would think, unload there.
Which they can't do.
Well,
There wouldn't,
They will do it.
Just heard tonight.
I wouldn't foresee any, but in units of these size, having tractor trailer deliveries of materials.
Then, I guess the planning board, if we're all here, when they're doing those, probably have to see, if it's a company that's gonna have tractor trailer deliveries in there, that it'd have to be consideration of any use that's going in there, I would think, anyway.
Yeah, there's bad site, I mean, it's.
That's a curve right there, yeah, you can do that, yeah, but pulling in there is fine, yeah, box truck, I'm sure can make it in there fine.
Have to work it out with the fairgrounds.
Maybe so, but we have to take that into consideration further along, because we don't know what's going in there anyways, and it doesn't matter to us until we see what the use is gonna be. We're just looking at the buildings right now on the site. Any other, nobody for the public?
Question, if each person that wants to come in there with their company, contractor wants to come in, question.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're gonna have to keep it in our heads to look at that when they put it out there for rent.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned lighting change, where, I just want to document it
In between the two sides of it. On the end of the building.
And so the discussion would be to put one here and one here. Because our 88 spaces are on this end.
And Mike, has the fire department looked at that? Yes. They're okay with that?
Yep.
Getting behind the buildings or anything like that, not a concern?
Yeah, again, they were considering, the potential uses and building the same thing. They're gonna go through the same process you guys go through, as each tenant comes in, they'll look at it and see how practical it is.
The fire truck is roughly 12 feet wide, and I asked Mattson as well too, and he agreed, he was like, it should be fine.
Good, okay. Any other questions from the board? So let's see. What are we looking for? This one here.
Oh, and to answer the question, retail is allowed in commercial, not in industrial.
Yeah. Not an industrial
It's
park.
allowed in commercial, but not in industrial.
And yeah, that's right. You're gonna look to see if there's a stub for that, because
We will verify sewer connection, yeah. So there's definitely a manhole there that was placed there, but
yeah, you'd have to core
we
that
believe
manhole.
that from what we've been told, that there's a stub out of that manhole.
Okay, but if you do core the manhole, you'll have to change the invert at the bottom, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, you can drop into that and invert.
Yes.
Okay. No, not for the sewer lines. No, sorry. 1/8 inch per foot we'll take on that. Okay, any other questions from the board? I think I asked that. No other questions. I don't think we're requiring anything. I guess then I will close the public hearing. If there are no other comments here, then I will close the public hearing. Well, what's it look like? Looks like it's pretty tight in there for the tractor trailers, but they don't have tractor trailers in there, then they don't have them in there.
Let's just remember in our brains.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we don't know the uses, and we will know the uses when they go in one by one. So that's fine, the planning board always sees that.
We'll put a restriction, there could be no.
No, we'll do it on a one by one basis, we'll see what their business is. If they're expecting tractor trailer deliveries, then they won't be able to go in there probably. Or make other arrangements with someone, they can be creative about it if they want to. Yeah, so, yeah, they're good with the water and sewer, obviously, they're going right into the fire department, I guess, is signed off on it. Looks like it just barely fits on that piece up in there, that piece of dry line up there. Yep, so. And no other questions about it, then a motion to approve is in order.
So I drove by there today, You are coming over on the bed, you really can't see that properly until you get that clearing opening with the driveway.
Yep.
Do you require an additional signage after, you know,
Like a blind drive.
Oh, like a, yeah. We could, it's probably not for those guys, it's probably for us in the police department. But yeah, we
Because
could.
the trucks pulling out, they're a lot slower than vehicles.
We can ask the highway department if they would put something up for us, police department, if they think something should be put up there. That's right. Depending on how fast they're coming through there. Don't know that. So, anything else? And then motion to approve would be in order. Want to make a motion by Brandon to approve the site plan, seconded by seconded by Michael. Is there any further discussion? And all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? You're good to go.
Question, Mr. Chairman, is there a condition of that additional lighting?
Yes, there wasn't on there. It was a suggestion and it looks like they're gonna do it. And we also had a suggestion about if there's gonna be a propane tank in there, we need to see on the drawings there. But
So those conditions of the approval.
we have to take another motion for that because we already passed that motion with no conditions. So we can trust these guys probably with those small things there, and Michael put them before. So let's, that, and it's not a huge thing there. It's if they use propane, we want to know where the propane tanks are. And the lighting, they said at the meeting that they would put it in, and it will be put in. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, because we don't want to miss anything. No, keep it straight. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to discussions and other business, and we're having just a small discussion on ex parte communication, meaning talking out of school and those types of things. And that has to do with discussing site plans amongst ourselves, or we meet one another on a road or something like that, or down at the dump, or within a butter or something like that. We can discuss it up to a certain extent. We can discuss things like, is there going to be a site development on this piece of property? Yeah, there is going to be. What's it going to look like? We know what it's going to look like. It's when you get into your opinions is when you get yourself into trouble. When you say, well, I don't think that should go in there because so-and-so did this or that, or I don't think this kind of use. You got to keep those to yourselves when you're discussing that. You know, somebody emails you, you're on the phone or run into somebody. And save the opinions for the meeting, but anything that's factual about the site plan certainly can be discussed or conveyed to a property owner or a resident of the town or anything like that. If we're together, or if you're over the town hall and the applicant is there and you're over there to look at some of this stuff like that, look at it as fine, but save your questions and save any discussions at all about it just for the board here and not with the applicant. You know, they might say, well, what do you think about my plan there? You know, I think it's pretty good. You can't really say, yeah, I think it's a good idea too, or I think it stinks. Either way, you just keep it to yourself, and that the board, when we have a meeting, all that comes up then. Anything technical, yeah, but you can't really say, well, I think the parking is too small, or I think this or that with the applicant I'm talking about, because you know, that just sets yourself up at the meeting. Well, he told me that such and such went this way and that way. So we save it all for the meeting. Anything technical, again, anything that's just factual about the site plans, we can discuss with anybody that we want to discuss. If we have more than 3 people to get together discussing a site plan, you can't do that. That's a meeting, and we aren't supposed to be having a meeting outside of court. And for emailing one another back and forth, that's a no-no as well. You can't discuss with ourselves, well, what do you think about the parking, or what do you think about the fire and this or that with other board members? That's not good. Save that for the meetings. Technical stuff, that is it an actual right that there are 2 doors on that wall or 1 door? That's one thing that you can discuss. It's fine. But yes, Steve.
Without names, has this been an issue that's come up?
No, it isn't. Bill Hutwelker thought that we weren't doing our due diligence of discussing that and just bringing it up because we had a new member on the board and we haven't talked about it in quite a while. He's asked me to talk about it before, and Stefan just reminded me again that we should talk about it. And we should from time to time, just to know, because you get caught off guard. You know, somebody can ask you about this site plan or that site plan. either before we've seen it in the board, or even when we're talking about it at the board, we got one continued. We aren't, we shouldn't be discussing that while it's continued till the next meeting, those types of things. So it's just good practice to go over that again. Did I leave anything out? So also, we have in front of us, we have to elect officers after town meeting. So are there any volunteers for chairman and vice chairman of the board? Not you, but no volunteers for chairman or vice chairman. Okay, then we have to have a motion for chairman and vice chairman, and we have to vote on it.
I move that Scott continues as chair and Richard continues as vice chair.
Okay, motion by Victoria that I remain as chair and Richard remain as vice chair. Is there a second to the motion?
Am I allowed to second?
No, you're not seated.
It's a vote of
No second, so that's it. That's it, I'm free, I'm out of here now. Okay. Second, okay, we did get a second there by Sly. He seconded the motion, and he's allowed to second. Sly seconded the motion, and he was allowed to.
Christmas present or something?
No, I knew better than the second.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to take the job. I don't like being chairman, but.
So people start, last year you gave us a good talk about how you want the rest of us to chirp up.
We got to vote on this.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor.
All right.
And it's seconded. So all those in favor of Victoria's motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? And okay, we have it. As far as tripping up, that's right, because I'm running the meetings here and it's difficult to concentrate on the subject matter. It's difficult to concentrate on the site plan and run the meeting at the same time, especially when they get complicated. A lot of people here and stuff like that. So I'll miss stuff. I know it. Sometimes after the meeting, I say, darn it, I missed such and such, they should have picked me up on it. So I'm relying on, Beverly does it sometimes, I'm relying on the rest of you just to pick me up on something, just say, just stop the meeting for a minute. Stefan does it once in a while too. And just go over this, did you miss this, or did you need to say that, or this or that, and keep it straight so we keep our meetings good and straight. So gotta help me out, because again, it's a lot going on at the meeting sometimes, and all this stuff. We have another item on here, and that's, we all have it, and that's the boilerplate or generic notice of planning board decision. I'll get a copy of that. This is what we're contemplating on putting out as a generic letter. And so I'll just read it. At its duly noticed meeting on said date, we put the date there, Swanzey Planning Board voted to approve or deny. We'll just leave this one as approved because the deny one doesn't have any conditions or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, I would definitely change it up if it's a denial.
The deny one will be a different one because we have to be very specific on why we denied the application if we do, and we have to list them all down there and what they can do to alleviate it as well. So this one will just keep for an approval. So Swanzey Planning Board voted to approve the site plan review application submitted by, and we named the applicant in there, and they put a description of what the project was with the following conditions, if there are conditions. And then we have under the administrative conditions, not requiring a compliance hearing. This lets them know that those conditions are administrative only, and they can be looked at by Stefan or Mike here, and they can be dealt with that way without the planning board having to do it, having a public hearing on it. The other conditions being requiring a compliance hearing, and we would let the applicant know which they are. And those are generally things that we want them to put on the site plan that they missed, or some kind of a change, of building moved, a change in the sewer or anything like that on site plan. Anything we want them to change on the site plan, they'd have to come back for a compliance hearing. Or we continue the public hearing and they do it that way. That would be the opportunity. Anyway, we would list the compliance conditions there. And then the next paragraph says, upon submission and review of the previous items, if there were there, the site plan becomes effective by written endorsement on the plat, signed and dated by the chairman of the planning board. No deviation from the plans as approved shall be permitted without further approval by the planning board. Then it tells us that the approval shall remain valid for 1 year from the date upon which the planning board voted to approve. And then we put that date right down there. Provided that active and substantial development or building has occurred within that 1 year. Then we tell them for good cause shown A one-time 12-month extension may be requested no less than 30 days prior to the expiration of the approval. And we tell them we look forward to working with you on the successful completion of this project. All conditions must be met prior to issuance of a building permit, meaning they can do site work, right, Mike? They can do site work, put the drainage in and all that type of stuff, but no foundations, right?
Right, and even site work can't happen until if required in AOT.
Oh, right, yeah, definitely so. Yeah, so, and it tells them all conditions must be met prior to issuance of a building permit. That way, they cannot build anything at all. They can prepare the site, cut trees down, and get everything done, but can't build anything until everything is met. I mean, it met the administrative and the compliance conditions. That's the, then it tells, yeah, if you have any questions about the building permit application process, please contact Mike Jasmine, Code Enforcement, or the Land Use Office here. And please find a copy of the draft minutes from the planning board meeting. Any questions can be reached in Land Use Office, and that is what we're considering. What do we think about that? Any additions, or you and I were discussing it Richard, earlier? About that. What do you think?
Just as you're reading that again, the upon submission and review of previous items. Okay, so are you implying that the approval time clock doesn't start until they submit those previous conditions, either administrative or compliance hearing?
No, we're telling them in that sentence that says, upon submission and review of the previous items, that means all the conditions, administrative or conditions that for compliance, the site becomes effective by written endorsement. Because
who's submitting this? Are we submitting this to the applicant?
Oh, no. The applicant submits proof that they got all their permits. That would be an administrative one, and proof that they met all the conditions, but that would be done at a compliance hearing anyway. Planning board would already know that one. But yes, we wouldn't know about the administrative ones, but they have to submit to the land use office that they got all their permits from DOT, all their driveway permits, all their sewer hookup permits, all that type of stuff. And then that means the site plan becomes effective, because then the chairman will sign it. But it doesn't mean that it changes that 1-year time period.
Okay, so we're at some point, I think somehow before that, we'd have to state that this little bit upon submission and review does not, where when we approve the application, and we say, okay, we're approving this with these conditions and administrative and compliant things that would be compliant. Those do not deviate or change the fact that the clock is started.
That's right.
Okay, and I don't know, someone that's.
So you want to take that definitive statement that Scott read, where it says it starts now, and move it to the top.
Okay, let's see here. If we do that. That sounds like a good suggestion, because it says, if we move this one to the very top, and it would start with this, the approval shall remain valid for 1 year from the date upon which the planning board voted to approve it. Put that date there, whatever date it was. Let's see, provided that active and substantial development or building has occurred within that 1 year, then we tell them for good cause shown, a one-time 12-month extension may be requested no less than 30 days prior to the expiration of the approval. Then we can put on upon submission and review of the previous items, the site plan becomes effective.
Is that sentence even, is it even necessary? Because it seems like, what does it tell us that the rest of it isn't telling us?
The upon submission one, right?
Yeah, the upon submission just confuses me.
Yeah, because you're right, they don't really even need to know that. That's just for our stuff, that it is effective, because of the chairman signs it and okay, it's effective. It might be considered final approval in some cases, not necessarily under the RSA's. Final approval is pretty much when the board votes to approve, and that's the final approval right there. So you're right, maybe we ought to just scratch that sentence and just, let's see, we can take that right off.
Which sentence is it?
Let me just read through your, yeah, that first sentence that reads, upon submission and review of the previous items, the site plan becomes effective by a written endorsement on the plat signed and dated by the chairman of the planning board. Okay. So let's see.
And then leave the date of approval at where it was so that it flows right into the extension.
Okay, so you're saying there is another sentence after that. It says no deviation from the plans as approved shall be permitted without further approval. We can move that down to the last. Right, okay, we move that down. So let's read this. So it would be, yeah, it would start with the approval shall remain valid for 1 year. That's what you're saying, right? They did.
Right, but I'm just saying that the extension, I don't know if it should be in the beginning so much as.
It could almost
at
follow,
the
could
very
almost
end.
follow that. That's your basic process, and then everything, all the other details follow it.
Okay, you've lost me. So what are we doing here? We're probably getting rid of that upon submission and review, right?
Right.
Okay, we're getting rid of that. So the
We
next
just read
sentence.
it again, I guess.
Okay, if I left that out, I'm gonna leave that out, right? So the next sentence down says, no deviation from the plans as approved shall be permitted without further approval by the planning board. Then it goes, the approval shall remain valid for 1 year from the date upon which the planning board voted to approve. We put the date down. Provided that active and substantial development or building has occurred within that 1 year. Then we tell them for good cause shown, a one-time 12-month extension may be requested no less than 30 days prior to the expiration of the approval. So we leave it, did we just scratch out that first sentence out and start it off with no deviation? Mike? Okay, Stefan? Think so?
Sounds good
Yeah.
to me, yeah.
All right, yeah, sounds good to me too.
Sorry, I'm gonna kick the can down.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, kick it again. You got another thing on that, right?
Yeah, I just, I better go back here. Okay. No deviation plans, as approved shall be permitted without further approval by the planning board. That's the compliance part.
No, it is, no, it is not. No,
Okay.
that's just letting them know that if you change one thing on that site plan, you gotta come back before the board.
Okay,
Anything.
it does not, we've got to let them, or make them aware that it does not change the clock. It doesn't restart as what we did.
But there's nothing on there that would restart it. I mean, a deviation, you're thinking that if they deviate from it, it would start the clock, but if they deviate from it.
Because I made the mistake of reopening a
Oh, yeah,
public
that's,
hearing to change something in the parking.
yeah.
And because of the way it was stated, I guess, everybody interpreted that as that's when the clock now restarted for that 1 year period. And I just want to make sure that we're not getting ourselves into a situation where that's going to change what our intent is.
Well, that particular instance you're talking about, when you took over for chairman there, that's a small matter, really. We don't reopen public hearings for one thing, and on compliance, of course, on compliance hearings, we only discuss what's the compliance conditions are, nothing else than that. But either way, it didn't change the time clock like you're saying. What changed the time clock is that provision we had in our site plan regs that says after you met the conditions, then the clock started again. And that had nothing to do with you reopening a hearing or anything. So that's what changed the clock.
Okay, and we're not, in what we're looking at right now, there's no way that could be interpreted.
No, I think anyways, we spelled it right out by putting the date down and saying 1 year from the date upon which the planning board voted to approve. And there's only one time the planning board votes to approve, and that's at a meeting like this here. We voted to approve, that's it, and it's done. So, anyway, and then, but we will need to, on our next meeting, we do need to have a public hearing on taking those provisions out of our site plan regs that says that after you make the conditions, the clock starts. Because we're taking that out of there. We had that in there to help the contractors or applicants with getting all their permits and ducks in a row, as the saying goes. And so they wouldn't be cut short on time. I remember that's why that was in there, but it's too ambiguous. It means two separate things in our site plan regs, so we gotta get rid of it. Steve.
Okay, the sentence that, provided that active and substantial development or
Yep.
building has occurred. I've got a problem with the word substantial. What is substantial?
The planning board has to designate what is substantial on every site plan if they want to designate that. That wording comes from the RSA's. The RSA's use that substantial word in there, so we use it in our regulations as well. And right, it can mean a lot of things, but
So taking up with the state.
the RSA's are written so they aren't tying our hands that a certain thing has to be done on every single job. They're saying, you know, we gave you substantial, you guys decide what it's gonna be. And we're probably gonna say the same thing to the applicant when we get larger projects and stuff like that, substantial, but.
It's a gray area, it's actually in our favor.
You're right, it is, yeah, that's right, it's in our favor.
One of the few.
One of the
very few, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see somebody going in, stripping a parcel of land of trees and natural growth, and saying, well, that's not substantial compliance.
Well, sometimes it is. We've considered that substantial improvements to the property when they go in and cut the trees, get some grading, get a driveway in there, that type of
Okay,
stuff.
you went further than what I said.
I went further than what you said.
He's just
I
saying
said stripping the trees.
and obviously it's gonna be on a case by case basis because no two projects are gonna be identical. This person might buy a completely wooded lot and logging that whole entire thing might be substantial. You know, but this other person might buy a lot that's already cleared with a driveway put in and a septic system put in or whatever, you know, so we have to take it case by case.
Isn't there somewhere, either in the RSA or in our site plan rights that discounts clearing the land? As you say, like a clear cut, or something like that, that is not considered part of, or cannot be considered substantial?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've come across that somewhere and I wish that.
It sounds kind of familiar.
I think ultimately
But
it
it's-
becomes kind of an intent versus content question. I mean, if somebody just comes in and clears off the loam and then bags, I think we're gonna be able to recognize that this was not what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can't, right, guard for everything, but right, just keep our eyes open.
And we're conscious of it, we can try to engage in that conversation with applicants.
And that's another thing to keep me straight on with the board. If any of the members think that we should say what's substantial development for any project going on there, we need to do it and lay it right down there at the meeting, what it is. And I'll forget, so.
And we have enough projects alive, and as you drive by them, all right, what would have been substantial here? You know, the Flatley project is removing 190,000 cubic yards of material. If they're using triax trucks, that's 12,000 truckloads. That's pretty substantial.
Pretty substantial.
That's about what I counted.
Yeah, you're up by like 5, I think, yeah.
But it's also substantial with the one that we approved tonight up on, across Route 10 there, you know, they're putting one little building up and doing some grading there, and that's substantial.
Right, as a percentage of the project, absolutely. And again, a lot of that, I think, what makes that substantial for me was the drainage. Just
Yes.
Billy might not have done it for me,
Yeah.
but that drainage was going in no matter what, and that's of course what I have a major concern about it. I would even go so far as to say, even if they just did the drainage, I'd be a lot happier than the building. I mean, it's about that, it's controlling that stormwater, so.
No, that's true, that's very true. I think that was it.
I had that thought about alternates.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And what I'm thinking is we have a couple of alternates who, I was looking through our rules of procedure to see if we have anything about attendance in there, and I don't see anything
we
really
don't.
other than you're supposed to show up.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if people are not coming, then there might be others who would want to come.
Yeah, Steve shows up.
Yeah.
He seems to be the only one.
I'm
So,
worried
There
about
was a
that.
time when I was sick, that
yeah.
Don't try to send me an email, because he won't open it.
Only when the elevators work.
I made it here for that.
I think we allow 5 alternates, don't we?
No, I don't think we're allowed 3 alternates, right, 3. But let's see, we assign them for, I think 3 year. The last one was a 3-year, wasn't it? I think so. And the one before that was either a 2-year or a 3-year. But what we've done in the past is we've send a letter to them saying, you know, are you still interested in being an alternate or not? If not, let us know, because we'd like to fill the position with someone who is interested in it. And that has worked pretty well over the time. So we could do that to those other two, because they aren't showing up anymore, and you're right to bring that up. And we need alternates that actually are gonna come here and show up and participate. So Stefan, could you just pen a little letter to those two guys and just tell them that? Yeah.
Might even be worth just giving them a call first, a friendly call. just
Right,
saying, hey,
that too,
you know
yeah.
what?
Say, like, yeah, no problem, if you're not
Right.
interested, that's fine, you have
Yes,
time,
yeah,
that's okay.
Life's changed.
Yep.
You know, it's,
Yep.
Work schedules change, everything.
So they have to officially resign.
I don't know if they really have to.
Maybe it's
resign.
notices on time.
If their word is, if they say, no, I'm not interested, then the board can appoint someone else, and if they have a problem with it, then they can take it up with Sly.
And Stefan, are we, any kind of update on Plainview? Project over in West Swanzey?
They submitted their parking changes. But I haven't gotten to it yet because I need to get the plans.
Yes, and they probably haven't closed on a sale on that property yet either, have they?
Or not to my knowledge. I should
I
say.
didn't see anything on the county register.
Yeah, that turned out, you know.
So what is our, agenda next, meeting, you know?
We
have one
might have a
continued public
multi-
hearing.
What, yeah, we got that.
And we also might have a multi-tenant.
The dilemma that Stefan faces, that every
Public hearings for.
and the new tenant will face is like these three applications tonight. They literally came in with 20 minutes of each other in the last hour.
Yeah, I used
It's dreadful.
it's dreadful.
And one of the first things we're gonna discuss with the other planners, and we're all in agreement, is should we move the date back a little bit? And give ourselves a little bit more room, because it really stinks when you're showing up last minute like that.
Yeah.
What's the date now? Oh, how long is it? Is it 2 weeks? No, I mean, the date you're talking about is the time before the meeting that they can submit the app.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The deadline is, maybe give us another day or two to have a day or two, you know, it's also not unusual for regulars that come before this board who know us and we work well together to go, how about Monday morning? And they go, and how about it? You know, and then Monday morning becomes Monday early afternoon, and it's really, you know, so it's, you know, you want to be accommodating and the rest of it, and appreciate the fact that everybody's overworked and understaffed.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you also have to do a good job. There's a certain amount of time that requires. Stefan and I have a lot of work to do tomorrow just for Nissan that we didn't expect to have. Especially again, if they drew that detention time on there, you would have thought that was based on something.
And you can still also tell, you know, if you get swamped like that and they know I want to be on that meeting, and no matter what, then you can just explain to them that, okay, your clock starts then. The planning board can accept your application or not. At the planning board, it's up to them. If they do accept it and they want more information, you've got still that time, 65 days, and that's it in that time. So if you want to chance it, then you can chance it. You know, you can tell Matt, you guys don't need to spend the wee hours of the morning trying to figure out what the heck it is going on with these site plans. If they want to push you.
You know, and I generally appreciate that outlet, but we really try desperately hard.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, and it's
I really want
good.
to make sure that what you guys have is as good as we think we can get.
Well,
Want to be respectful of your time, your volunteers, we get paid.
But if the applicants, who are the same people, typically, if they know, they're gonna work it in, you know.
They generally,
They're gonna tell their buyer or whatever.
Yeah.
I gotta get it in this week for, 3 weeks from now, maybe we can get on that here.
Yeah, no, it's generally pretty good, but it's just like I said, it just so you know, like these three, literally, it was so funny, they might as well shared a ride in. It was just so funny.
why don't you, I don't know what rules or regulations would have to be changed, but language to the effect of to ensure a date within 2 weeks. Your submission must be given to the office 3 weeks beforehand.
We have something to that effect anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm just sure, so you don't get.
No, and I appreciate it. Like I said, when Adam joins, it's gonna be, part of the process, of course, is always when you get someone new who comes from a different place, one of the things you try to squeeze out of them so hard is things that you can learn that they've got, that maybe can make us better. Because that's the whole point. I mean, if we take somebody from the same place, we get the same thing. So it's always fun to hear about, anytime you hire somebody and they make you go, wow, I never even would have thought about that. You hired the right person. And that's what we'll be doing. And then the first 2, 3, 4 weeks is just drilling for gold.
And another thing, when they do come in, can't stress more that if you can spare the time just to come in and spend an hour or 2 hours with the plans, it really does help if you can do that. And it's okay for us to discuss all that stuff with Mike or with Stefan here. It's not ex parte when you're doing that, because they're helping us. They're there. We got questions about the plan. Do you think this is right? Or do you think that's right? We can do all that with those guys. And if there's more than one of us there, it might be considered a meeting. One could be in one room, one could be in another room looking at different plans. But if you can spend some time with the plan, I know people work, Brandon works all the time there, he's never home, but if you can do it, you can get a lot off of those plans, and it's much better when he's making that presentation, because it registers that, oh yeah, I saw that, or I didn't see that, or those things. So again, if you can do that.
Yeah, if anybody's so, they really want to see them and they can't make it in the office or something, I will bring this at a point.
You shouldn't have said that. Mike's open there. I shouldn't have said that.
The drop off is set up there in Walpole on your way to work.
But you have to get the sandwich first.
Okay, anything else for the meeting tonight? Good of the order, as they say. If not, motion to adjourn by Richard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brandon. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.